Joining us today is Jeff Tomastik, who is a business founder and the president of a company in the B2C space that I think you'll all enjoy hearing about.
Today, what we really wanted to do is talk about the journey to get to today and the challenges in manufacturing a unique product like this, the iterations that he's had to go through to get to this end product, and kind of the challenges from day one until the current challenge of being able to extend capital funding and move forward with the business model. So Jeff, thanks for joining us. What was the first kind of obstacle that you encountered, and how did you guys go about moving past that?
We saw a problem in the space, as I had told you before, that there was no real ingredient-focused products that were leading the market in spirits, as there are in the beverage space, as well as the non-alcoholic or the non-alcoholic beverage space and the food space. And we wanted to really pioneer that technology. And after researching extensively and traveling, trying to figure out someone who could do it and help us with it, realizing that no one could do it, I think the first challenge was like, okay, wow, do we dive in head first here and really go for it? Or do we let things go by the wayside and not really get involved in the major challenge of trying to do something first? And I think the challenge of doing something first, the reward can be incredible financially, mentally, in a business wise, that the doing something first can be an unbelievable feeling, but it can, like you said, have major challenges. There's really no blueprint to do something first. We really tried some small sample size. To be honest with you, this business didn't start as a business. We kind of had like a what if idea and tried little tiny samples. We used my partner's kitchen as our first lab and trying to experiment with things and see if some of our concoctions could work, infusing fresh fruit into whiskey. And we gave some samples to friends and family and did their second iteration, the third iteration. And once people started to come back to us and said, could I have a second bottle? We were like, okay, wow, this is interesting. We were kind of just messing around. Let's tweak it a little bit here. We gave out a few more. And after people really started to come back and ask for more and giving us such positive responses, we were like, okay, wow, maybe we're really onto something. And I think it was just a decision-making point where you and your partners or whatever business it might be look at each other and said, we're going to do this. We've got to go all in. We got to not look back. We have to fully focus on what it's going to do, not plan on it being ready in a year or 6 months or 18 months or whatever it is that you hope for. Just dive in head first and completely commit, and then hope that everything works out as planned, as close as you can possibly get it. And that was really the first challenge for us, was trying to mentally get there.
You know how you'll find like the story of home brewery kind of guys that go down and set up the stuff and make their own brew, and they're 1,000 square foot, 800 square foot apartment. Is that kind of the lifestyle that it began at, where you had just this like small little distillery in his kitchen and you guys were kind of just messing around?
100%. I mean, just to clarify what Ambros was created to the listeners that are viewers who are watching this, is that we wanted to create 100% fresh fruit infused whiskey that had no added sugars, no artificial flavors, no natural flavors, no juices, no purees, no nothing, just flavored with 100% fresh fruit and completely shelf stable. And the science behind that was very difficult. And as you said, we kitchen labbed these samples for a very long time, and it was two separate problems that had to be accomplished. One, could it be accomplished at all? And two, could we do it at scale? The first problem that we have, you're right, it was exactly like that. We did hundreds and hundreds of variations from different types of bananas, different amount of bananas, different types of whiskey, so on and so forth. The variables were very vast. So, I mean, I don't even lost track about how many iterations we had till we got to the final recipe.
Take us through that kind of journey of where you said, now it's time to go all in, look at a property, look at getting equipment, look at building out the capacity. How are we going to do that? And kind of how you did get there and get through that challenge.
It's a slow moving pace. If anyone's ever built a manufacturing facility or a house or anything, it is a very, very slow process. And the more people you have involved, the slower it gets. So we had to have a lot of people involved to accomplish this. And I think patience becomes your number one problem, because when you're a business owner and you finally, I guess, lit that switch in our head, we had, at the point that we were building the facility, we essentially had the product ready. We couldn't mass produce it or produce it properly without all the machinery. And so we had the finished product in our hand and just wanted to go, give it to the customer, market it, put it out there, get sales, be excited. but we actually had to wait about 18 months till we could really, lay it out to the consumer and put it out there because of the gaps in engineering and creating the facility to do it at mass scale.
Yeah, so you got to 2019, now you had the facility, you had the product. What was the next challenge that you guys had to overcome? What was your 2019 story?
We really put out there in the very beginning of how to get distribution, what that looks like, how we should price it at retail, how we should price it to venues, what the consumer really wants from this, how to educate the customer on how 100% fresh fruit infusion is different from any other flavor technique that was already on the market. And then we really focused on, when we launched, was getting the everyday hospitality employee behind the product, right? We did a lot of gifts for bartenders, a lot of gifts for servers and managers and retail employees. And we did these custom gift boxes for the people who don't necessarily normally get gift boxes, right? Not the major influencer or the owner or anything like that. We gave it to the employees who are actually really going to be interacting with the product. And we got the major hospitality communities in Las Vegas, on the Strip and off the Strip, really behind the product. And that created a tidal wave of success for us and momentum when we first got out the gate.
But what was the game plan going into 2020, and how have you guys pivoted since then?
As far as challenges for us, the large brands were really able to take advantage of the large grocery store boom, because grocery stores were getting riddled with that too. Retail, the off-premise side of spirits, really boomed during the pandemic, obviously, because people were making cocktails at home, figuring out new recipes, drinking at home because they couldn't go anywhere else. So the on-premise marketing side of it has changed completely in bars, restaurants, nightclubs, lounges, pools, etc. And that will continue to change for a long time. A lot of brands have shredded their budget when it came to that, and will do so next year until I think a real footing gets back there, and having the ultimate focus on the off-premise retail side of things. But for us, we shifted to the accounts that are really still working for us, right? We shifted to our large off-premise retail account, focused on getting the most out of those that we possibly could. And now that bars and restaurants are starting to come back in the states that we have, we're starting to put a little bit of focus back into those as well. But don't get me wrong, those months of April, May, June, July were extremely difficult, and this is a volume business.
I could spend a day with Jeff. I'm intrigued by how much, Jeff, you've learned in the last couple of years as you tried to fulfill this dream, and you've learned a great deal. Is that what your podcast is about? I want to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, my podcast is called the Residency Podcast. It's one of the largest podcasts coming out of Las Vegas right now. We actually are three entrepreneurs who are doing the same thing, going headfirst into our industries and trying to be successful in a lot of different ways, and interested in a lot of different things. There's investments that I have in other industries that I like to dabble in, and obviously Ambros being my number one focus, and we're all kind of similar in that route. So our podcast is really about the top story, going over the top stories in hospitality, entertainment business, and pop culture, bringing in incredible guests that are either working or playing in Las Vegas, and putting out a podcast episode every week and giving our opinions on what's going on, how we can do better, and obviously the stories and interactions of our guests who've been, top fitness stars and entrepreneurs and athletes, successful entertainers, major influencers.
Well, Jeff, congratulations on these so many areas of your life that you've got wonderful things happening. Eric, thank you for introducing us, and let's bring this to a close today. And thank you for your time.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on too, and hopefully I can do it again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jeff.